Welcome back, guys. We are now getting into episode 4 and the nitty gritty of mission making and what needs to be done in the back end. So we're almost completely done with the editor and placement, markers, all of that sort of stuff. We might do some fine tuning later. But in this episode, we start the script side of the framework. And this is where it gets a little bit more technical. So I'm going to be alt-tabbing in and out of ArmA itself to my desktop quite a lot in these next few episodes. But the first initial thing we're going to do is obviously getting the mission set up so that the framework's in it, working, and we'll just go through some of the files that you'll need to be manipulating and editing to get stuff to work, and also the ones that you just don't need to touch. So first of all, just remember what your mission's called and what we named it. This one is called I ran to Aegeos. It's going to be important when we need to move stuff over from the framework, which we're going to do now. So just going to alt tab out. I've already got some stuff open, but this is where your missions are usually held. So in my case, you just changed it out for you. PC, documents, ArmA 3 other profiles, diabolical missions. And I always have the date modified switched to the top. So it gives you the first one that we've been, or the latest one we've been mucking around with. So here it is, co-op to Aegeos version 1_0. Open it up and all you'll see is a mission SQM. Excuse me. This is pretty much just a document that holds all the information for the stuff that we placed in the editor. So we don't want to delete this. We want to keep this. Very important. Now, also, if you downloaded the UDS framework from the GitHub and unzipped it, you'll have a folder like this that I've chucked on the desktop, which is UDS Framework Master. If you open that up, there's a couple of files in here, like the compositions where I'll show you guys how to put that in later, in like an addendum episode, I suppose. And you also have a PBO. You won't have this, so I'll just delete it just for cleanliness. But you'll have a PBO and you'll have the U3 Mission Framework VR. The VR one is the one we want, the open folder. If you open it up, you'll see all the scripts, and as I said before, don't delete the mission SQM or replace it. So we want to select everything in this folder, bar the mission SQM, and copy it into here. So if I just grab it, copy it, paste it, and as you saw, it didn't replace the mission SQM. All right, we've done with the framework downloadable. Now we'll get into these specific files and scripts. So you have the init, which you shouldn't have to touch at all. You have the description, which we will go over a little bit later. Mission SQM, of course, we just went over that. And U3 briefing, which we'll go over afterwards. Most important things we're going to look at first isn't actually in this part, it's in scripts. So if you open up scripts, there's a few things here that you don't really need to keep an eye on. One we need to look at is assign gear. So open that up. And as you'll see, there is assign gear OPF, so assign gear op4, assign gear blue4, weapons, uniforms folder. These are literally the 4 of importance when making a mission. We'll use the op4 one as an example, but just know that this file here is what connects every single script to do with loadout and gear from these 2 folders, so weapons and uniforms, to everything in game. So this folder here, or if you're using blue4 folder, these are like the links to in-game, so from script to in-game. So we'll just go through the assign gear op4 one first, and we'll go over the stuff of importance and the stuff you don't need to touch. So just again, I am using a specific text editor that was sort of developed for ArmA 3, which is Poseidon, which is on the Sublime Text sort of platform. If you've got Notepad++ or anything else that you feel comfortable, it's up to you. I'll leave a link to Poseidon in the description if you feel that that's one you wouldn't mind having a go at. But anyway, I'm going to open it up. All right, so here we are. This all looks, I would assume, a bit confusing. I'm just going to just zoom it in a bit too, just to make it a bit bigger for you guys. So, first things first. This is the block that we need to take the most interest in for this part. So this entire block here between lines 7 and 31. These are all the different variables for kit, uniforms, accessories for the guns, all of that sort of stuff. And we'll just go over them quickly. So night gear, that should be pretty straightforward. So it's whether you need lasers on the guns. Actually, no, it does it differently. It's whether you want night vision on your soldiers. So what you can do here is instead of false, let's say you want night vision, you just put in true. So TRUE. But for this particular mission, it is going to be daytime, so I don't need them. So I'm just going to go back to false. All right. Next one is variant. At the moment, I have it set up as the AK-74M. When we do the weapons episode, I'll show you how they work and how to select cases. So just remember that word, cases. Next one, scopes. There's a little explanation next to this one. So 0 means iron sights or none. 1 means a reflex sight, like a hollow sight. And 2 means an optic, or let's say anything like a PSO scope, anything like that, so anything ranged. So all you do to change that would be the number. So 1, 2, or 3. Not as a number, so not 123, but you'd just select, 1 or 2 or 3 as your number. Same thing goes with muzzles. So none, 0 means nothing on the end of the gun. 2 is like a muzzle attachment, like a flash hider or just a specific type of muzzle. RHS has a lot of different muzzle types for their weapons. And 2 means a suppressor will be put on the end of the gun. Just remember that because that also rolls over into something else. Pointers, these are also gun accessories. So yeah, if you haven't noticed, like the first few lines here, it's all to do with your primary firearm. So let's go to pointers. None, obviously, again, none. 1 means that it will have a torch. 2 means it will have a laser pointer. Very simple. And the grips line at line 15 is the same as like the night gear one, where you can have a true or false, whether you want to have some sort of grip pod on the gun. A lot of RHS stuff has it. Just make sure you know that the gun that you're using does allow them. Next thing's next. Launchers. This is, again, like variant AK-74M. This will be a case for the type of launchers. Everything from, let's say, AA, MAT, HAT, LAT, all of that sort of stuff. We'll go over this later. You just have to change over the case to what type of weapons they'll be using for shoulder fired. Camo pattern. That's obviously the uniform case. We'll be going over cases in the next episode. Now within those uniform cases, there's also a headgear case. Again, we'll be going over that in the next episode. Parachutes. This is if you're doing like a paradrop type mission. Essentially what this does is if you type in either steerable or non-steerable, as there are examples here, will be the type of parachute. It also uses the backpack on chest mod script automatically and all of that sort of stuff. Now these next 3 are kind of interesting. So you've got your flashbangs, incendiaries, and cable ties. The way this works is you put in a number of how many of these individual items you want. don't use them all that often, but let's say for this type of mission, we have to pick up some sort of prisoner or blow up a cache. Let's say I want the soldiers to have 2 flashbangs each. No, not flashbangs. If they're blowing up caches, they want incendiaries, don't they? What a dick. So let's say they'll get 2 incendiaries and let's say 3 cable ties. So that'll be added to your loadout once it's all initialized. The next one is another one of these case ones. So again, where you had weapon variant, launcher, all of that. This is a case variant for radios. A couple of different types of radios for TFAR. We'll be going over that folder in a further mission. Next one is underwater weapons. Essentially, if you have a diver loadout, this automatically gives you the particular gun that works underwater. The next one is whether you want to use subsonic ammo with your silenced weapons or not. For most Russian weapons, because we've been having issues with the subsonic rounds, keep this false. Americans, keep it true, or make it true. Seems to be working. Now, these next ones are new to the framework. Remember in the last episode where we went through and we named the individual section members and what type of, what type of weapons or loadout they were getting? So if I open up ArmA again and we go back to the Alpha team, and if you open it up, you'll see that it didn't actually save, which is a bit strange. But anyway, we changed these names so that you had marksmans, ARs, and all that. So, here we go. So 1-1 Alpha Marksman was the second rifleman, and 1-1 Alpha was a first rifleman, even though I did actually make him a grenadier. So we'll just change it quick. Okay. I don't know why that first one didn't save. Anyway, and then we had MG gunners for the first fire team, all of that. Okay, so if we come back to here, our first team, so buddy team, the AR team, that was an MG. And if you look over onto the right here, we do have pre-set up stuff. So if you just want to copy and paste, so MMG, so machine gun, copy, paste. And remember, because of the rules and how we restrict them, team 2 stays at AR. First rifleman, it's already set up for us. Remember, we had him set as a grenadier. He's all sorted. Second rifleman, we actually made a marksman. So he comes under DMR. So copy and paste. That's pretty much it for the initial variables. That's sorted. For the next stuff, I'm just going to clean this up just to make it a bit more easier for you guys to see. Now, if you come down to line 197, include files for weapons, uniforms, functions, and tools. This is where this script calls on those uniforms and weapons folders to designate what is going to be applied to the players in game. So these two are the ones of importance to us. Everything here doesn't need to be touched. Pretty much anything from here down doesn't need to be touched. So let's say line 202, everything under that, don't need to fuck with it. Now this lines up where if I just put this to the side, excuse me, and it has include weapons, weapons ak.sqf. So if I go up here, open up this folder, weapons ak.sqf. Right? Just remember this for the next tutorials. And then we have the next one, which is uniforms afrf.sqf. So if we go back, open up uniforms, and there's that file, uniforms afrf.sqf. All right, we got it. This will have everything to do with cases for particular weapons, headgear, camo, all of that. Going to put it into a separate tutorial because it is going to take a little bit longer, and I also want to show you guys how to edit them and change them and customize them. Because I don't actually have standard CSAT loadouts in here, so we're going to have to make one from scratch. So hopefully that'll show you guys how to customize. Okay, so now we've gone over everything to do with how loadouts are applied. Just going to quickly go over description. Doesn't need its own tutorial. It's very fast. So once you go back to missions, okay, so open your mission file. You'll have your description ext. If you open that up, this just has the basics for the mission itself. The only parts that you need to mess with is line 10, 11, and 12. So on mission load name, let's get rid of the stars and everything. The mission name was I ran to Geos. Okay. Author, which is me or whoever's making the mission. So your name. Got it. And on load mission is just a short description of what the mission is going to be. So this mission is to show you guys how to stuff. Okay, pretty straightforward. Then file, save, you're all good. So that's the description ext pretty much done. You don't need to do anything else. Be going over briefings in another episode because that's it's kind of a different type of code formatting as well. But anyway, hopefully you got something out of this to work out how the structure works. We're going to be digging even deeper in the next couple of episodes where we're going to be changing out the weapons and the uniforms to fit everything in the assigned gear files. All right, guys, see you in the next one.